include many efforts to integrate digital solutions, therapeutics, and platforms to deliver them in an increasingly personalized approach. Here to discuss how pharma can be a leader in this evolution is our very own Bayer's Executive Committee, led in conversation by Jan-Philipp Beck of EIT Health.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel, Future Pulse of Digital Health, a conversation with pharma executives. So my name is Jan-Philipp Beck. I'm the CEO of EIT Health, and I have the honor to chair this panel today. I'm joined by a distinguished group of Bayer executives, and I'm introducing you, ladies and gentlemen, in alphabetical order. So we have with us today Marianne de Backer, the head of strategy, business development, and licensing, and a member of the executive committee. Michael Devoy, Chief Medical Officer and Executive Vice President of Medical Affairs and Pharmacovigilance. Jean Karen. Jean, you're the head of digital and commercial innovation and a member of the Pharmaceuticals Executive Committee. Anna Greta Mortensen, you're the Chief Marketing Officer of Bayer AG and a member of the Pharmaceuticals Executive Committee. And last but not least, Bijoy Sagar, you're the Chief Information Technology and Digital Transformation Officer at Bayer. Welcome to all of you. We'll be taking around 40 minutes today to explore our topics from various angles. And first, I would like to talk about the promise of digital change. And Jan, let's start with you to tell us a little bit how Bayer is leveraging digital solutions and the new possibilities that these technologies may bring. So if you don't mind, give us the big picture and how Bayer is painting it at the moment. Please, Jan.
So for us at Bayer, there are two main areas where digital is really bringing change. The first one is, of course, the digitalization of our core business. How we change the way we operate and how we interact with our customers. We are integrating progressively and in a general way now the digital technologies to help us delivering a better service to our customers and also to drive our operations in a different way, leveraging the power of the tools, but also the power of the data. It's the start for us of a completely different way of interacting, more precise, more focused, and more agile and dynamic. So it's one part of what we are doing. The other part is really about developing digital health solutions and digital health solutions that can address really the pain points into the healthcare system. We are starting our journey there too, and we are just engaging into a broad collaboration we signed in August to develop a digital healthcare platform to enable patients to be real actors of their health and managing their conditions, whether you're talking about diabetes, heart failure, women's healthcare. And we are trying to bring our pharma knowledge, understanding of the disease, of the healthcare system and structure to really shape a platform that can be beneficial to the patients and lead to outcomes. Now, it's clear that if you look at the broader space of digital health, that's probably where the start has to be. It has to be to better understand also how the patients are going to react, how they are going to really shape with us those solutions. And after also think about what other services we can offer to the different stakeholders in the entire value chain of healthcare to make the system more efficient, to make the system use the resources better and to enlarge, the access of people to the system, because you are making the resources available more impactful and more powerful to serve more people. That's how I would describe the current vision. It's still a long road, a lot of work, but we have a direction.
Great. Thank you, John. Fantastic. Mike, you're the Chief Medical Officer, and I would like to pick up on the digital solutions that John has mentioned and focus a bit on the patients. So from your perspective, what key promises do these solutions hold? What may they hold for patients? How can we potentially improve their health?
Thanks. And I think Jan really introduced the topic perfectly. For us, the vision is we put the patient at the center of their own health and their own care. And really, digital is something that will allow us to do that. We see a whole new world of opportunities where really the patient can take care of themselves in terms of making some of the key decisions about how, when, what they need. And just to take a specific example, following on from what Jan was saying, more and more we're wearing monitors, devices, wearables that can give us feedback on our health earlier and earlier in terms of telling us how we're feeling, maybe some symptoms that we're not necessarily noticing. So say we have that situation, our wearable gives us some guidance that certain parameters are not as originally set. Then maybe we go and search on Google and find out a bit more. Then possibly we consult an app like Ada that helps guide us. Is this really nothing to worry about? Do we go back to sleep or go out to walk our dog? Or maybe we need to get something, self-care medication from the pharmacy. Or maybe we feel we need to consult a doctor now. And so now we consult the doctor, but we do that online as well, because we don't want to take the trouble to go to the hospital, or maybe at the moment or worried about going to a hospital because of potential co-infection. And the doctor gives us a diagnosis and a prescription. And we fill that prescription online, and it arrives also with a device that helps us remember to take the pill, the treatment that may have been prescribed. And we might join if it's a more chronic disease, a self-help group, a patient group on a social media platform. And so what this really demonstrates is that in a healthcare system that really, for its entire modern age anyway, has been putting the system, the doctor, the hospital building at the center, now the patient should be taking more control, more ability to make decisions around their healthcare. And I think for that, for us as a pharma company, means we need to really adopt a model where we understand that just providing a good, effective, safe medicine will not be enough in the future. We need to have treatments which really fit into that whole ecosystem of what patients require and need, when they need it, how they want it, and how it's delivered to them. So I think it turns really a lot about how we operate currently into a very new direction. So thank you.
So you mentioned that patient centricity, if you like, for better health is really the key. And now we need to change how we operate, how we can deliver on that promise that digital change may hold. So Anne-Grete, if we can maybe start with you here. How do you think maybe established business models may also need to evolve in order to capitalize on these potential opportunities that Mike and John have laid out? Can you give us some insights?
I mean, it's clear that there are ecosystems around all stakeholders, patients, but also HCP. So it's about us using all the data that is now available to us to make sure that people get the right information when they need it and how they need it, to make sure that we really individualize how we approach customers. And to me, customers is both HCPs, but also patients. And what I think is very clear in the environment we're in now is that we're going away from focusing completely on the illness, actually to focus on the wellness. And we need to make sure that the information that we bring along is also focused in that direction. So it's not the doctor's always right, but patient takes a co-responsibility in the environment we're in. And
do you take this a step further? How will that inform also how business models may?
So we are in actually developing it's in Sean's shop, the customer powerhouse, where we are making sure that we are not only using the old-fashioned sales data to advise us how to work, but actually we are taking in all kinds of data to make sure that we are suggesting to our reps and and to others who are intervening with customers, what is the next best action, so that we are not treating everybody the same way, but making sure that people, as I said before, get the right information when they need it and how they need it.
Thank you. Marianne, over to you. So I suppose that driving innovation in digital requires also good partnerships, potentially also beyond maybe the buyer organization. I suppose also maybe a certain degree of agility when we talk about digital health. Can you give us some insights on how you are looking at partnerships and also their evolution in order to really drive innovation in this space?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple of reasons why we believe that, the companies that are going to be superior in collaborating, in forming networks and ecosystems and consortia are going to really come out as quote unquote winners here in this new world, right? A new way that we offer care to patients. There's a number of things that have happened. I mean, there's, of course, the enormous speed of innovation. There's an explosion of new science and technologies. There's, as was already mentioned, the increased connectivity, the increased complexity, and then pharma and tech, healthcare, tech. It's all coming together. And some people are asking, I mean, are the tech providers going to become the healthcare providers, or are the pharma companies? Do they need to become tech companies? Obviously, we strongly believe that it's all going to be about collaboration and about being really good in forming value-creating partnerships. And so in my group, the digital transformation agenda is, of course, front and center and a high priority. I just set up a new team in San Francisco to focus on that. And we look at it basically from sort of two different buckets. We look at how is digital transforming the way that we approach R&D at this moment in time? So we have entered into a number of collaborations, for example, with Recursion and Schrödinger and Excentia, where we basically look at, how do we use AI and machine learning and digital technologies to get better at identifying new treatments. On the other hand, we're looking at, what we are talking about more here, really what is going to be a potential transformation of our business, right? How are we going to offer healthcare differently? And as Jan already mentioned, our collaboration with OneDrop, where we, create a platform where we will empower patients to manage certain chronic conditions is a perfect example of that. So what we are doing is, making sure that we are front and center in the ecosystems where, all the players are active. We are going to continue to enter into partnerships that help us, again, both on the transformation of functional side, but also on the transformation of business side. And we are going to look for, potential bolt-on acquisitions that can help us make a bigger leap in this space. But the most important thing is really that, this is also incredibly complex, and healthcare is the biggest, challenge we face as a society, and no one can do it alone. So really partnering and forming, again, ecosystems, consortia, ways to share data and insights, and then be able to translate these into insights that are going to be relevant for patients are going to be critically important.
Thank you so much. Jan, before we go into more concrete examples, some keywords have been mentioned here around the enormous complexity, acting in an ecosystem, leveraging also data therein. How do we cut through that complexity and build truly integrated solutions that we can deliver? Give us some insights.
When you want to tackle complexity, you have probably to start with humility and go down to exactly what you want to deliver for your customer. So for the end user, and really start shaping something where you query what is exactly what the people consider as an issue and what they want to remove out of their landscape of constraints, and what is going to really bring for them value. And that's where we think we have to go deep into the understanding of the problematics to shape things that can push the people to adopt and reward solutions. Now, we are all fascinated by data, and I think it's a very good thing. Data are also a great opportunity not only to do business out of data, even if, yes, there is a tremendous opportunity to change the way we address the diseases, we interact with the different customers based on the data, try to make more sense, capture things we never looked at before in the environment of people that can contribute to their global well-being, health, or sickness. The data is something that we can leverage also for each and every individual. And that's where I see also the value of those. Now, very clearly, what is happening there in terms of creating value is to change slightly the angle of the healthcare distribution by having probably a less top-down approach, and where there will be a choice of the patient or the person to invest in one or the other solution. And going forward, through insurances or through different institutions, that choice can really drive the development of a broad commercial opportunity.
Thank you very much, Jan. Fantastic. Now, you have mentioned, I think, in a few key topics, I think, and principles here, and I would like to pick up on that briefly. I think a bit of a less top-down potentially. Maybe if I can phrase it this way, also I think an approach towards, say, needs-driven, patient-centric innovation. So let's hear from Bijoy. You are the Chief Information Technology and Digital Transformation Officer. So listening to your colleagues and some also of the paradigm shifts they are anticipating and advocating, what does that mean for the evolution of Bayer? So how does the company, how does the organization maybe need to transform in order to deliver on these opportunities? Share some of your views with us, please, Bijoy.
Yeah, thank you. The paradox of digital transformation almost always is that when you do this in a brick and mortar company that has existed for a long time, is to marry the traditional data and infrastructure that has been built over many years to collect and run the company and turn it on its head to create the momentum and speed to take advantage of all these new possibilities in front of us. That means, how do we actually work with startups and other partners, and how do we do this in a way that is economically possible? And that is going to be the biggest challenge. In Bayer, for example, like many other companies, the large amount of investments that we have are tied up in areas where what we call legacy, things that are probably not going to be as relevant in the future. And we are going to have to very deliberately change that and create ways to scale up the use of data, as Jan talked about earlier. So if you're talking about wearables, if you're talking about collecting data using sensors, you can create very large, vast amounts of data. And that cannot be monetized for a very long time, because you may have to work through multiple paradigms and multiple partners before you can actually get the value for the patient and value for the company. So how do you transform this ecosystem from the dependency of the existing infrastructure to this new world that allows us to do this economically is going to be our challenge, just like it is for many other companies like us for the next 4 to 5 years. And this has to be done really carefully.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, despite the complexities and also despite the challenges that Bijay has elaborated on the legacy systems, the challenges and the economics that come with it, there are, I think, already concrete examples on where you have broken new ground and where we have some concrete examples on how digital change is happening, digital solutions are deployed. So let's hear about those and get some insights here. So Anne-Grete, I want to start with you. Can you give some example, concrete from your work that will illustrate what change and deployment of digital solutions can look like? Anne-Grete, please.
So on the business side in particular, I mean, the customer powerhouse is the essence of how we are going to address the customers going forward. And that is about using data in a much more structured manner than we have done before, not just looking, I said it before, at sales numbers, but also now making sure that we really capture what drives the physicians, what are the physicians looking for, what are the channels that they are choosing to be informed through, because it's very different. So we're going from a normal segmentation to really micro-segmentation to make sure that we individualize the messages we are sending. So that's on my part of the business. It's all being built by Sean. So we are saying thank you very much for all the tools, but it's really changing the way we're working.
Thank you so much. So John, let's go to you. You have hinted at examples earlier. So let's dive a little bit into that. Give us something concrete that you are working on, that you have been deploying, so that we can make this tangible.
So I told you about the interest of pharma interacting with digital, and recently completely reshaped and extended our collaboration with IDS OneDrop. This is going to give us a very special working mode between, on one side, a digitally born company and healthcare platform, with everything related to the customer interaction, the close connection in the development of products with their audience, this completely, customer obsessed and focused view of the world with the agility and the speed, and us, pharma. Why did we go that way, which seems to be like something counterintuitive because the two worlds are so different? We did that because they bring their digital DNA. We bring a lot of things related to the content and the understanding. And we are starting, as we speak, to work on integrating now new modules into this platform that are born from the work we do with the internal capabilities, the capacities, and the knowledge we have, what I call the latent value of pharma to bring into the digital environment, where the digital environment many times does not bring that long-term understanding of the pathological processes, also the long-term understanding on how the patients are entering the care or are interacting with their healthcare systems. So we go through the little bit of pain of the cultural shock to make sure we can put both ingredients together to develop something really powerful for the patients. That's how concretely we are starting to tackle it. And of course, we enjoy the transformative mindset that this collaboration is spreading into the company and into my group.
Thank you very much. And if you allow a follow-on question on these early steps, can you share some of the feedback that you are getting from some of your partners, but maybe even also from patients or their representatives? What are you getting back?
So on the collaboration, there is a motto that Jeff is using a lot, saying that to pharma, everything looks like a drug. And we are to vaccinate ourselves against this trend. And the trend we may have as an industry to be defensive and to hide ourselves behind regulatory hurdles or pushing to have more constraints or more rules that could defend our position into the health ecosystem. So we are actively controlling ourselves and our derailers on that, and trying to see where is the right balance. Not, we don't want to deny that regulations and rules are extremely important in our industry, but trying to rebalance the two. And now when I look into the feedbacks we are getting from the patients we interviewed, the healthcare practitioners, whether you're talking also not only about physicians, but also about nurses, we integrate that. And then you realize that in the practical life of a person, you have many hiccups, hurdles, problems that are super basic and pragmatic, but that are making the advices we distribute to them totally unapplicable. And we need to tackle those pain points. And that's what, I said in the beginning with, staying humble, but looking into those details, because that's where we can help the people to make the changes they need happen for themselves. And it's, I would say, the learning journey we are on right now.
So thank you, John. If we think about now uptake in the market and the policy regulatory environment that's also needed for that, how do you see that evolve? Do we see also areas of positive evolution that may facilitate an uptake and thereby also the ability for us to reach patients here? Bijoy, please, if you would like to comment on this.
Yes, so I would probably speak about this in three different ways. So first, I think to build on what Jean said earlier, FDA is becoming, for example, very open to new ways of treating and new ways of looking at digital software and digital approaches. A couple of years ago, for example, they worked very closely with Apple in approving that single application in Apple Watch, and that was sort of the first test. And since then, there is a consortium that is working very closely with FDA as they learn how to use this effectively, and how do you actually validate this new software as it's self-learning, which is a complete paradigm shift to how FDA used to work before. So that, I think, is number one. Number two, and I'm speaking specifically in the US system because it's the largest market, and all of this obviously then applies to Europe as well. Secondly, how do you actually get paid for this? So most of the providers, for example, who are very excited about trying out these new approaches are equally worried about how do I make sure that my time or my new approach is monetizable. So with the CMS looking at the CPT codes now for digital approaches, you're creating pathways for paying for these new solutions and new ways of treating patients. Germany, for example, became the first country in the world to approve a digital software monetization pathway. And that model is being now looked at very carefully in the US. And once the government providers apply this and use it effectively, private insurance pick this up. And that becomes a really powerful way to build to the total cost of treatment. The insurance models obviously are very incentivized to use digital technologies where they can see that the total cost of treatment goes down, even if an individual piece of that treatment is more expensive. And with the data that we are collecting across these effects, such as OneDrop is a great platform, you're able to then also demonstrate this effect. And finally, 78% of the patients who've been surveyed in the last 2 years about these approaches have shown willingness to try this and use it. And that's also a very powerful and positive signal, because with the trust in the patients to use these technologies to self-monitor, as an example, our ability to then use it through the providers go up. And so that all three elements in the marketplace are coming together. Of course, these are early days, and these would require a lot of careful monitoring and careful reinforcement for us to be successful. But it's really optimistic and exciting times.
Thank you, Bishoy. Fantastic on these remarks that I think segue us nicely already to the closing and the wrap up of this panel. We've talked about the promise that digital solutions may hold. We've talked about the requirement for patient centricity in this, the needs of transformation in these various areas, but also then the evolutions that we see and also in the policy environment, potentially also in patient behaviors. Now, before we close, I would like to ask every single one of you for a brief statement outlining a bit your priorities in your area, maybe over the next 12 months, that you would set to contribute to this overall digital transformation. So give us sort of a brief statement. Where will your strategic focus be in your particular areas over the next 12 months? And I would like to start with Mike, please.
Thanks, Jean-Philippe. For me, it's really key, and I think we've heard that through all the discussion today, cross-functional collaboration. If we're going to deliver on our integrated care promise, that must be a joint effort of all of us. We all have our role to play. And in medical affairs and PV, we're very focused over the next 12 months on what we call Program Aurora, which is about our digital transformation as an organization, both looking internally and externally. And I believe we, in our function, have the key role of really generating data and insights so we can better understand the disease areas we're operating in, the care pathways, the needs of healthcare providers, but most importantly, the patients as a stakeholder. So we're really going to continue but enhance our role as serving as that voice of the company externally to stakeholders, physicians, patients, and others, but also importantly, the voice back into the company. So we're hearing what our patients really need and want, how they want us to deliver that to them, how they want us to interact with them. So really, my commitment is we're going to strengthen even more our collective ability to listen, learn from, support patients and caregivers along that disease journey to ensure they really get the best out of what we can offer in terms of integrated care beyond only a pill. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. Marianne, what do you strive to deliver? Share with us, please.
Sure, yeah. So we talked a lot about patient centricity, right? And the fact that patients want to be co-pilots in their care. And at the same time, with COVID-19, we see that just people in general want to be in control of staying healthy. So I think there's an incredible opportunity for symbiosis and win-win of us as a big pharma company, really partnering up with, tech players, startups, whoever is playing in this field to offer that integrated care solution. So what we are committed to is, continue what we were doing up to now, is really look at, partners that can help us both in the transformation of functions and how we are doing R&D and can be more successful in coming up with new solutions, and also to the point that was made, also digital therapeutics. And then at the same time, helping to find partners that can really help us transform, our business model and offer care to patients in a different way. And so I'm going to build out my partnering team that is focused specifically to this area over the next 12 months.
Great, Marianne, thank you very much. And important to listen to for all the potential partners, that there might be also opportunities coming up there to work with you. Fantastic. John, tell us about your agenda, the next 12 months. What are we going to see?
So, of course, we are working extremely intensively on executing on the deal we just signed with OneDrop. And I think it's very important that we take that momentum in a very cross-functional mode. We want to continue also to play a role in the entire ecosystem and to work, with the G4A team and Mariana's team to make, partnership and collaboration opportunities happen. I would say that, of course, continuing the journey that we started with Anna-Greta, with Mike, to transform the whole organization in commercial is extremely important. And the last point I would like to add, it's really, we are talking now with our priorities mostly focused on our Western world, but I want us to start shaping a very strong strategy on how our digital health endeavor is going to help us bringing health to more people, thinking about a low and middle income country strategy, because I think there is a gigantic opportunity to stand true to our motto of health for all.
Thank you very much, John, with this strong voice also for a global ambition. Anna-Greta, give us your view on the next 12 months, please.
Yeah, I do have two cardiovascular launches that we are focusing on, but I would like to highlight something different, actually, which we are also going to be very heavily involved with the next 12 months, and that is the preparation for Candy. And what is so important here is that we were so dependent on the OneDrop system that Sian is setting up, simply because if we don't make this a need for women that they will speak up to want to address, we will not get access. So we need the more emotional part. We need to engage women to really speak up, to break the taboo around the problems around menopause. And that's something we will be building, because without building it, and without making the women unite themselves around this, we might face major access issues, in particular in Europe. So that's something that we will have to work cross-functionally on right now, because it's a big opportunity, but people also need to engage with the patients.
Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, Bijoy, what are you going to be your priorities in driving and serving digital change over the next 12 months in the organization?
Yeah, thank you. So three priorities. One, building a team and skills that can serve the needs of the business and bring them closer to the business, so that we build what is needed, what is required to move this strategy forward, and not anything else. So build that focus. Number two, create an architecture that is more nimble, so that we can actually scale these things really quickly as we learn from it, and create that in an economically sustainable way. And finally, to build stronger partnerships across the board. As many people said, this cannot happen without a strong collaboration. So we have to collaborate not only internally, but also externally, to keep an eye for what is possible with the technology evolution. This is happening really fast. So you have to make sure that as new things become available, everybody actually learns through it, and then we are prepared and we are there.
Thank you very much. And on that note, I thank you all for your great contributions. Good luck and success with driving digital change at Bayer for the healthcare systems and for the patients around the globe. Thanks to all the executives here, and thanks to all of you who have been following us online. Thank you very much, and goodbye.